Hello and welcome to this week's coffee vlog. It's Friday, the something of October. Actually forgotten. I don't suppose it's important. It's about the 14th now, something like that of October. It's late in October, and it's getting darker on a night. So last week's vlog kind of went a bit pear-shaped, bit of a schoolboy error on my part. Completely and utterly forgot that I've not been moving any of the dash cam footage off it during that week, and consequently on the Friday morning it ran out about halfway through the journey to work of space, so I stopped recording. And I didn't notice that, and I didn't notice when I turned it on the Friday evening to come home and do the vlog that it had run out of space and wasn't actually recording anything. So sorry about that, and the fact that you had to watch the nights before footage which didn't match up at all in any way. But it was either that or have me in the completely wrong portrait instead of landscape view on YouTube, or just me in a box with a blank space instead. So I just stuck the previous night's footage up because it managed time and as well. So it probably worked, I don't know. Other things, returning to last Friday that's happened. I did on Monday afternoon, once I got all the rest of the work out of the way that I needed to do, managed to puzzle through and figure out my power issue with the sockets that went out last Friday morning. When I say solve it, not really solved it. I've made the sockets work again. Let's put it that way. As far as I can tell, I went back to a box with big old porcelain fuses in that I'd been to previously, and after deciding that none of the fuse wires had actually blown, because these are the old style, not resettable fuses. These are nice big chunks of wire between two big metal poles. After deciding that, I retraced all the wiring because I was going to move the wires to the sockets that I needed through another piece, but I traced it back, and it was going back to this box I'd looked at previously. I was like, well, it's definitely going in there, so the problem has to be there. So what I did in the end is I went back and I actually checked the incoming power as opposed to just checking the fuses. So check the power going in from the supply, because there was like 3 thick cables to a cluster of 3 fuse banks, and the first one, which is for the lighting, and I knew that was working fine, and then the second one, which had some wires going to it, the input had got no power, which is a bit bizarre. The other bizarre thing is the inputting power, the big in power cable, was yellow and the other 2 were red. So and there was a third bank that got nothing coming out of it that wasn't being used, but that was live going in. So the obvious thing was to the middle one, which suddenly has lost power for whatever reason, I moved the cables from that to the end one that wasn't being used, and then put the fuse in there, and everything worked again. Yay! So other than the mystery of A, why that cable was yellow, and B, why all of a sudden overnight the power to that went off, totally beyond me. There are some unrelated sockets in the upper part of the building that have gone off at the same time with it, but they're not really essential, so I'm not really going to bother about it too much. I've solved the main part of the problem. There is some power that is no longer there that was there before. I know not why, but probably, you know, at least maybe paying a little less an electricity bill at some point. Probably unlikely that is, but we shall see. So yeah, that happened, got all that sorted, and then to continue my productivity on Monday evening, I had this big idea, because I have these big ideas, of moving the old first generation time capsule from downstairs, just sort of on the, it was under the TV in the living room. Moving it upstairs and running a hard wire back to the Virgin Media Super Hub, because I use the Super Hub mostly for connecting to nowadays, because it's super quick, and then wired to the time capsule means you're still transferring pretty quick via that. And in fact, I could transfer via the Super Hub Wi-Fi connection faster to the time capsule than I could connecting directly to it. But that's just because the time capsule is running on older Wi-Fi standards, so even running it on an N strict, which should be really fast because it's still quite old, it's probably one of the first generations of N standard, it's still pretty slow. So I had that great idea. So Monday night, I found myself a nice long hole borer, nice long length, because the thing is I had to go through upstairs floorboards, then the downstairs plasterboard, obviously the gap in between, and also some coving. So dutifully drilled my hole through, which worked fine, got me through the coving as well, just where I wanted to be, and it was just fractionally too narrow, the bore, to get the Ethernet cable. And I've got some lovely flat long, bought some flat long Cat5e network cable, which was long enough to more than fit, you know, from the room upstairs across, along and down, and where I wanted it to be. So got that. Wouldn't fit the actual head of the Ethernet, because those Ethernet cable heads are pretty big. In fact, you'd think nowadays they'd start to reduce the size of the things. Anyway, wouldn't fit through the hole, and the only other bore I'd got that was as long was ridiculously wide and make a huge hole. So the only other option was, of course, get the wire cutters out and cut that Ethernet cable in two. Fit through fine then, and cue me sit on the floor for half an hour connecting 8 lots of twisted pair cable back together on either side, splicing them up, which was fun because the orange and brown pairs, so you have a solid brown and then striped brown and a solid orange and a striped orange, almost identical colour wise, because the really tiny cables in the flat ones, obviously because the flat's lovely and thin and well, yeah, very narrow cable. So I was like, and then I realised that the brown and the orange were on the opposite sides of the flat cable, so I actually managed to work it out by laying them down and working which way. Spliced it all together, much amusement to the rest of the family that sat there twisting these cables back together, and believe it or not, plugged it upstairs, first time got them all right, all of them. Amazing really, because I wasn't very sure about the green, because the green and white stripe were pretty much just green together. They weren't, the stripe wasn't very clear on that one for whatever reason, so that worked. And so I got the bonus of moving the first gen time capsule upstairs, which it does get very hot, which I think was always its downfall. There were loads of them died, the first gen time capsules, because they just overheated and it killed the components in it. And in fact the one I got had died previously, and I got a kit to replace the various resistors and transistors and whatever else on the board was in it, like 3 of them that were known to fail, that caused it to fail, and that's worked it again. But to aid with the cooling, I never put the rubber base back on, and instead I put some nice chunky rubber feet on, so the metal base could act as a nice heat sink as you'd want it to, and then those rubber feet gave a nice air clearance underneath as well. So did that, and it's been all right, but it feels hot to the touch. I mean, even on standing doing not a lot, it gets hot. And then if you start transferring data to the 1 terabyte drive in it, then obviously you increase the heat considerably then. But So I thought, move it upstairs, it's out of the way from downstairs, and also given the upstairs bedroom tends to be pretty cool most of the time anyway, might stay a bit cooler. Plus my 3 devices upstairs, the PS3, Apple TV and Android TV, can all be hardwired to it, making use of that hardwired connection. It will give me obviously better speeds and more consistency to all 3 of them. So got them all up there and it all seems to be going fine, which I was quite pleased about, really. Don't you know? Always the way. So yeah, it's up and everything's running smoothly. I did some tests on it, moving data from the Mac Mini, which is hardwired, up to the time capsule, and it tops out about 30 megabytes a second, which I was getting anyway with a short normal cable when it was just, you know, a few feet from it. So the fact that it's now 15 feet or more above doesn't really matter so much. It seems it's still working. So that pretty much is all good. This week we've had another new iOS 9.1 beta 5, another 1.6 gigabyte update, so pretty much a full install. I think I did that Monday night, and I also then gave me watch yet another unpair and then repair and set it up as new, not from backup. And it seemed, I'm going to make in fact I think all this week, it seemed to actually make it a lot more zippier than the first sort of restore I did to the GM firmware, not GM firmware, the public release of watchOS 2. So it seemed to make it considerably sort of zippy, and I don't know if that was related maybe to being on 9.1 now, and there's something within the watch app that does the restore that makes that work better, or what it is, but it just seemed to make it work zippier. It fixed the problem I had where Apple Pay wasn't working somewhere where it worked previously, and that annoyed the devil out of me, and it solved that as well. So I mean, that was worth the setup as new anything. But like I say, the watch itself has been running a lot zippier since, so that's a bit of a mystery, but the watch itself is a bit of a mystery on its own, to be fair. So on the whole, all that's going well, and we had another beta release of OS X 10.11.1, another beta update. Not really seeing what we're getting additionally in there, but in fact there was 1.6 gigabyte. Apple seemed to have like bought up all the 1.6 gigabyte bandwidth at the moment, so they put that through as well. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, I put it on and everything's running pretty much as smoothly as it was before, so great. Other things I got up to, making use of that lovely solid hardwired Android TV. I had a watch of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which I'd previously tried to watch, except I'd started way too late at night and fell asleep. Not very far through it, I don't think so. I actually started at a decent time watching it, and it was really good, actually. I'm surprised. Probably my favouriteest of the Mission Impossible ones, although I might have to go back through and re-watch some of them to decide. But really, I think Simon Pegg kind of made it for me, because I do like Simon Pegg, so anything that he's got into, and he does seem to be managed to wangle his way into big films after doing all the sort of smaller ones, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and whatever else he did. He's getting his way into these big name movies, so it was really great to see him in Mission Impossible, and the film itself was pretty good. So enjoyed that, and Disney Infinity 3.0 is still occupying lots of time with the boys. I think they're getting well on with playing the 2 worlds on that. So that's pretty good. Oh, hello. Don't want to run over his little car. So yeah, generally it's been an alright week really. Been a bit busy, obviously lots of high carbon stuff going out, and yet another shipment should be coming in very shortly. So, and I'm just going to get in now and relax, I think, see what he's up to. He's going to wait for me. Good boy, Alice. Right, so sorry about last week. This week's probably not much more interest, to be honest, but there you are. You missed the shed, and I'm really gutted about that. You know, there was someone walking across the road in front of me with a shed, a big garden, green plastic garden shed. Well, it wasn't one person, there was about 4 or 5 of them carrying it. I mentioned it last week, it would have been recorded, but dash cam. Darn. Oh well. Right, have a good weekend and week next week, and I'll catch you next week's vlog.